Hi, this is Marcel with Healthy Homemaking. Today I'm making pasta puttanesca in one pot, which means that you don't need two pots to boil the pasta. I'm starting by putting some olive oil in a pan. It's going to be delicious. So that's the first step. Make sure your pan is over medium heat. It doesn't need to be too hot at this point. Now I'm opening up the anchovies, and if you think you don't like them, you are wrong. So I think you're going to love them if you have them in this dish. You don't really taste the anchovies because they melt into the sauce. They just give it some kind of umami is what chefs call it. So they just make the dish a lot richer. So just add, I add 2 to 3, maybe 4 anchovies. These are packed in salt, so they add a little bit of saltiness to the dish. I don't actually add salt to this dish at all because the olives that you're going to see later are salty already, and so are the anchovies. Now garlic. So garlic is my favorite part of making pasta because I already buy them already peeled. And even if they weren't peeled, you could use this method at the same time. So I just get the cloves onto the cutting board, and then I whack them with the knife, as you can see, one at a time, just on the flat of your knife. You just whack them like that, and then in no time they're ready. Then the chopping up is a lot easier once you do that. So if you've just started to cook or you're not sure how to handle garlic, this is a good way to start. And cutting them, like I said, is a lot easier, and you can do a lot of them at one time. So that's one great thing about chopping garlic instead of using a garlic press or anything like that. I don't really like garlic gadgets, the peelers, the garlic presses. I just do it with my knife. It's a lot easier. So after this, I'm going to add the garlic to the anchovies. I'm breaking them up a little bit with my spoon or spoonula. And then I'm going to add the garlic, and like I said, this is over medium heat, medium low, depending on your stove. You need to get to know your stove well if you're going to start cooking. If you're a seasoned cook, you already know this. So now I'm adding the garlic, and it's going to start sizzling, which is a fun thing to hear. Then you know you're really cooking when the garlic starts sizzling and you can smell it. So it's really delicious. So I'm breaking up the anchovies a little bit more. They start melting into the oil and they get married to the garlic, which is good. So they get to be one flavor. So this is a very easy sauce. You know, this is something you can do on a weeknight when you don't really feel like cooking. I'm adding the olives. Now these are Kalamata olives. I like black olives for my puttanesca. Even though they're Greek, Kalamata are Greek, you can use any oil cured black olives as well. So I'm just chopping them up a little bit. These are already small. I bought them in a 4-pound tub from Amazon, which is one of the best things I've ever bought. So if you just search for 4-pound Kalamata olives on Amazon, you can get a great deal on them. It's a lot less expensive than buying them at the grocery store. So that's a good tip for you. So I'm adding them. I like to saute them with the garlic and the anchovies as well. Some people add them after the tomatoes. I like to saute them and get them coated with the oil and the garlic so those flavors all come together. So as I was saying, this is a very easy sauce. This is something, especially in one pot, I think it's a lot easier. And now I'm going to add the parsley. So I keep my parsley in a Ziploc bag, already washed and ready to go. So I do that when I bring it home from the store. And I'm putting a good amount in, maybe a 1/4 cup or so. So that's probably going to come to about 3 or 4 tablespoons once it's already chopped up. As you can see, a large knife is a good thing. It really helps to get your work done quickly and easily. It's not hard on your hands or on your wrist. If you have a small knife, you're going to be straining a lot to get your work done. So invest in a good knife. I have had this knife for 19 years. So it's a Wusthof. And if you cook, you know that that's one of the best knives that you can buy. I have never needed to buy another knife, so I haven't bought one in 19 years. So that's a good thing to do if you're looking for a new knife. Wusthof is the way to go. So I like to add the parsley to what I'm sauteing as well. I like to get all of those flavors together, make sure that they have time together. And, you know, just make sure that you're paying attention to the heat. and that it's not too hot so that the garlic won't burn. If you burn garlic, you have to start all over again. That's the one thing. And then you've already wasted all of those ingredients because the flavor is not going to go away. Now I'm adding tomato paste. Keep it in a little Tupperware like that. I don't keep it in the can. And I'm adding about 2 tablespoons, maybe a little more. This is all very, very much about what you like. So I add the tomato paste to give some body to the sauce. I'm going to add crushed tomatoes later, but I like to saute the tomato paste with everything else so that it gets cooked and it starts to stick to the bottom of the pan there, of the skillet. So that's one of the things about good cooking. You want to cook things well. So unless you're talking about a steak, then medium rare is fine. But sauteing the tomato paste changes the taste, so that's why you do it. I've been cooking for about 21 years now, and these are just things that I've learned as I go. Nobody told me to do these things. I just learned from experience. So now I'm going to let this saute a little bit, put some ingredients away, clean up a little bit. I like to clean up as I go. And I'm going to add some red pepper flakes. I don't like to add them with the oil because it goes all over the house and then everybody's sneezing. So I add the red pepper flakes after the wet ingredients have gone in. So the tomato paste and the olives. And that way you don't get that effect. Nobody's sneezing. It's a lot easier and you still get the spiciness. I added about half a teaspoon to a teaspoon. I like it spicy, but if you're not used to red pepper flakes, go on the lighter side at first. So that's my advice. If you like spicy food, then you can add up to a tablespoon. I don't know who could stand that, but I may have done that before. And now I'm adding a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. And these are very saucy. I prefer crushed tomatoes to diced because it really gives a lot of body to the sauce. I do not like whole tomatoes because then you have to put them in the food processor and clean the food processor, and I really don't like them, and I don't do them by hand either. Some Italians do crush the tomatoes by hand. I don't do that. So now I'm just stirring everything up, getting everything together there, and then next I'm going to add 2 to 3 cups of beef broth. So this makes it taste like a sauce that cooked all day. And this varies because you're going to see me adding the pasta there. I'm going to add about maybe 2.5 cups or so. I had about 4 cups in that measuring cup. As you can see, it's very saucy, but it needs to be that way. It needs to be very liquidy because that's what the pasta is going to cook in. So the pasta needs enough liquid. And I'm going to put about 3 cups of rotini pasta in, or fusilli, depending on what you call it. It's the corkscrew pasta in America. That's what we call it, corkscrew. So where I come from, we call it fusilli. So I'm adding about 3 cups. You can go up to 4 cups as well with the same amount of liquid. And you'll probably serve 4 to 6 people. You'll see at the end that it becomes very swollen up, and it's really a lot of food. And that pasta, I always cook a lot more than I need to, but that's just that's just the way it is. So that's a good thing to pay attention to, how much you're adding. And then you'll see me clean up a little bit, put things away. That's the best thing about food. So I'm going to cover it now. It needs to be covered so that the pasta cooks correctly. And I'm going to look at the heat there and then turn it down. Right now I'm going to let it first bubble up. Once it comes to a boil, then we turn it down. So right now I probably have it at about an 8 or 9 on my stove. My stove is not a gas stove, it's electric. So if you have a gas stove, you'll be paying attention to the flame. But on an electric stove, mine is at about an 8 or 9 so that it will heat up faster and come up to a boil. Now that it's come up to a boil, you can see those large bubbles on the surface. That's boiling. So you turn it down. I turn mine down to about 2 or 3. So that's the first thing that you need to do to make sure that it doesn't burn on the bottom, because there is a lot of sugar in that sauce because of the tomatoes. So we're going to get a shot of after 15 minutes or so. That's how I like my pasta cooked. 13 to 15 minutes. I would start checking at about 13. And then that's what it looks like at the end. You didn't need to pause, you didn't need to boil water, you didn't need to boil pasta. You just did it all in one pot, in one skillet. So that's the best thing. And you can see how saucy it is. I like mine saucy, so I added about 3 cups. If you like yours with less sauce, then you would add up to 4 cups. That's what it came to. And it will be a little bit less saucy than this. But it's a delicious dish. Everybody loves it. My family eats it a lot. And it's so easy to make. Like in literally 15 to 20 minutes, you can have dinner on the table. And you just add this with some garlic bread, maybe a quick salad that you're making while it's cooking, and you have dinner. Bye, see you next time.